The faint noise of TVs spills out onto the alleyways. The people inside have no idea there's commandos just outside their front door.
Alright y'all, welcome back to Combat Arms channel. Okay, so today we are checking out a video that was very highly requested. And I'm sorry I'm a little bit late on this one. Probably about a month late because a lot of y'all, I would say at least 20 people sent me this specific video. And I understand why, because I checked out a little bit of it and it is awesome. So this is Future Commandos, Why the Royal Marines Are Changing. So this is from BFBS Creative. Now I've seen some of their videos previously because I know they feature a lot of Royal Marine content, and there's some pretty good stuff as far as like the cinematography and just the overall narration you get for these videos. So looks really awesome. I'm excited to check it out. I know you guys are excited to check me out because a lot of y'all sent it to me, so thank you for that, and thank you for just pressuring me to actually get this reaction going. So let us check it out. Let's see why the Royal Marines are changing. I love it, man. Flashbangs are so badass.
Royal Marine Commandos are changing. So I flew out to Gibraltar to find out how and why.
Okay. Is it just like one person doing this channel? Because I feel like I've seen it before where I saw him like packing up his camera equipment and going out. So I feel like it's like pretty small team doing this specific channel. I mean, just looking at the subscribers, they have 27,000 subscribers, but it's pretty surprising because the quality is just really on point. So if you guys aren't subscribed, I'll put the original video down in the description so you guys can go check out the channel. But if you guys are fans of the Royal Marines, I would definitely recommend checking the channel out. Cool shots too. Oh man. So I think they do the underground training
Commandos,
here.
Small, highly mobile, raiding and reconnaissance forces. In the Second World War, commandos spawned famous units like the Special Air Service, the Special Boat Service, and the Parachute Regiment. But it's the Royal Marines who never dropped the commando name. Even when their roles slowly began to change, and they became less specialized. When Marines...
Yes, I know we've seen previously with the Royal Marines how they're trying to do like the future commando concept or whatever. They're trying to really go back to those commando roots. And again, the British commandos are well known and world renowned, especially like you're talking about the SAS. Pretty much all special forces are based off of the SAS. So if there's anyone that knows how to do commando stuff and commando tactics in general, it's going to be the UK, or at least England specifically. But yeah, the Royal Marines going back to their commando ties is pretty awesome, and it's going to be cool to see how they actually adapt as far as their structure and all their gear and whatnot.
Started to operate like traditional infantry and were deployed as battalions to places like Helmand Province. Now though, the Future Commando Force program is changing that.
Really nice gear.
The biggest change to the Marines since those days in the Second World War. These Marines are of 4-3 Commando, notable because their primary role is to protect the UK's nuclear deterrent.
Yep, trained with those guys a bit.
To operate in confined areas and to operate alone.
Oh yeah, a lot of CQB. That's what they deal with a lot.
They're equipped with technology and weapons unique in the UK Armed Forces, meaning they can provide a glimpse at what the future commando force might look like in a couple of years.
Okay, so let's check out the gear real quick. I know they are updating their gear and have put a lot of effort into that. So it looks like they have some of the older helmets, but they have some pretty solid night vision. It looks like PVS 14, pretty standard night vision mount there. The rifle, I think, is a C8, if I remember correctly. So really awesome for CQB. And 4-3 Commando, again, since they deal with the nuclear deterrent, these guys are really solid with CQB, and they've trained with my recapture tactics team a bunch. So it's really awesome having that working relationship between our two teams specifically. They have a little ACOG here with the RMR, so a red dot for like CQB. So that's really awesome as far as like CQB stuff is concerned. But it seems pretty well suited for what they're doing as far as the CQB mission. And it's cool how they get to move around in this actual city.
They can provide a glimpse at what the future commando force might look like in a couple of years.
Hell yeah. Yeah, a lot of subterranean stuff.
Is deep inside the old Second World War tunnels, dug into Gibraltar's rock.
That would be so much fun. Really hard to do though.
The orders set out a series of raids on enemy positions. So we just listened to the first set of orders that 4-3 Commando have had this week, and tonight it's all about subterranean warfare in tunnels. I think it's going to be a long night.
Yeah, sounds about right. Another day with the Royal Marines, though. Dude, I gotta say, it must be super cool to actually clear out the World War II tunnels in Gibraltar. I don't know a whole lot about Gibraltar, like why it has such a weird, unnatural rock structure like it does, but it's crazy talking about subterranean combats, because like you can be an expert with CQB, but subterranean combat is going to blow your mind a lot as far as like having to adjust small things here and there. All right, here we go.
Under the cover of darkness, the commandos insert from boats. It's pitch black, and that means we're using night vision cameras to capture the action.
Nice.
The commandos have just landed in this bay, and they're going to make their way up the cliff for an attack on the enemy position.
That would be so much fun to have
From
that
there,
opportunity.
They're patrolling through the streets. Nothing has been closed, so there's civilians along the way.
Oh, that's
It's so
awesome.
rare to be on normal streets during an exercise like this.
That's so cool.
In terms of realism, it's always something that's hard to kind of demonstrate to the guys, is when civilians are walking around, when people are coming up to them and asking questions and things like that. People are driving by. You don't get that on Salisbury Plain, you don't get it in Wakefield police facilities or anything like that. So yeah, Gibraltar's good for that in terms of walking through the streets and, you know, armed, and background noise of dogs barking, people looking out our windows and stuff.
Yeah, true.
Realism.
Yeah, just if you can get training to be realistic, it's so much better and so much like more worth it to do. And like, I mean, yeah, it's kind of a pain in the butt if you have to organize this stuff, but I mean, they seem pretty cool with doing the training in this specific area. So it's a really awesome opportunity for these guys to actually go and get a full immersion into this environment and stuff. You know, an environment that they could actually be working with, but it's also cool just to have that background noise and just those distractions here and there, like working on their home turf with all these people around them asking them questions.
The faint noise of TVs spills out onto the alleyways. The people inside have no idea there's commandos just outside their front door.
Oh, that's so cool. They got like the doorbell camera. That's so cool. Pretty beautiful place.
It's the entrance to someone's flat. That's someone's home.
They probably scared a lot of people doing this. Okay. Cool shots, very cinematic. Definitely adds to the spookiness of what they're doing.
Normal infantry wouldn't deploy like this, but this is a glimpse at the future commando force. Small, versatile teams, tailored for each mission.
Hell yeah.
For 4-3 Commando, that's working in confined spaces with no support, where the stakes couldn't be higher.
Yeah, I mean, if there's anyone to like practice the commando stuff, these guys are a really good example, just because, again, with CQB, you're used to just being able to do everyone's job as far as, you know, if you're going through a house, all of a sudden now you're going through this doorway, you need to handle this hallway, you're the one making the plan, or all of a sudden you're the point man. The jobs change around a lot in the CQB environment, so you need to be really aware of what everybody has to do and what everybody's job is. So that works really well when you're talking about commando tactics, because they're already really independent as far as understanding everyone's job and just being versatile as far as being able to move around. But they're also really good in working in small teams because they're used to being able to picking up that initiative in the CQB environment and understanding where they need to go. They're really good about finding a job whenever they don't have a specific job assigned to them. And that's really awesome for a commando unit specifically.
Essentially, we're responsible for the protection of nuclear submarines and nuclear missiles, and providing that assurance to allow them to go out and do their tasks on a routine basis.
What a cool
We've
shot.
got a set mission, so we really focus in on the sort of CQB skills to make sure that we're at the required standard should the operation
go live and we're required, that we're fully adept at operating in that complex environment in terms of office spaces, industrial spaces.
Yeah, it gets pretty complicated for
It's
sure.
that non-stop mission to protect the nuclear deterrent that means these commandos are unlikely to form the initial company in the change program. But their experiences, tactics and kit might help inform how the future commandos operate.
Yeah, for sure. Really good example. I wonder what their mission is, though.
Commandos make their way into the old World War II tunnels. So the Marines have made it.
I see they have blank firing adapters. I wonder if they're going against like an actual opposing force, because that'd be really cool to have like an actual opposing force. And I imagine they will, just because, I mean, they're already doing all this to make it realistic. So that would be just like the icing on the cake.
Up the hill, all the way to the tunnel entrance, where they've gained entry, and they're going to destroy the enemy.
Hell yeah. Oh, dude, it's so dark. Imagine just seeing that coming towards you. Even worse if they had like a strobe. Oh.
Contact.
It's a good thing they had the ballistic shield.
Pass that door, put yourself in that cover. Move up there. On me, on me.
Such a cool training environment. Holy cow. I'd love to do that. Nice. Yeah, so you can see here, again, like with subterranean stuff, there's so many weird twists and turns and nooks and crannies. So it's crazy. Like you can see here, like they have someone covering down on this long hallway here, this long tunnel. And then there's also like dudes coming up next to them firing in these other alleyways. So subterranean environment is just super crazy because you have people coming from all over the place. And again, it's very dark. It's hard to actually identify everything going on. Yeah, I mean, this looks like very realistic training.
It's not long before the tunnel is too dark even for our night vision.
Yeah, it gets pretty grainy when it gets really dark.
The main sort of difficulty is sort of the narrow and confined spaces of it, but also just the total lack of any sort of form of ambient light. Guys have to be fairly slow and methodical to get through it. Nice and quiet, nice and slow, nice and steady.
Yep.
There's difficulties with sort of the communications of it as well.
What's his battle number?
Just the face of trying to understand what's going on. And we've all been there. If you guys have done any sort of training like this, especially realistic training, you've all been in this position where things just get really hectic and you're just trying to organize at that point. Because, you want to go into the gung-ho mindset of just going and pushing through, but sometimes you need to reel it back and realize where your forces are. You need to like sort of tame everything and just get a lock on everyone. And it gets pretty hard in a subterranean environment just because communications fail, you can't see as well, and people are still trying to clear out areas that aren't cleared.
Obviously there's no ability to kind of provide any sort of satellite imagery or anything like that. So
Yeah.
for the commanders, they are quite literally going into it in the dark a little bit.
Yeah, well said.
They're on that tunnel. Yeah. Roger.
It'd be fun to be the opposing force, though. Nice movement, though.
Then,
Nice and quiet.
With the objective secured, it's time to extract.
Hell yeah. That would be so much fun, dude. Nice. So you saw there the dude was on the ground pulling security. So even when you're leaving a place, even if you did clear the entire objective, you still need to be kind of tactical with how you're actually doing the withdrawal or just getting people out of there. That was sick. Now they're back out. It's nice to get that fresh air.
Commandos from across the Marines and the Army will form the first future commandos. They'll be known as Vanguard Strike Company. And they'll be the first to have access to new technology and weaponry as they head out on their first deployment this year.
Awesome. I'm excited to follow that.
New technology like the Throwbot.
Yep, that thing is awesome.
or thermal camera drones.
Yep, like the Black Hornet, that thing is a
4th
beast.
3 Commando are already using the C8 rifle.
There you go.
But that's because of their role protecting the nuclear deterrent.
Yeah.
It's a good weapon system. It's nice and light, it's compact, it's reliable. The short barrel sort of lends itself really well to not only what we do in 4.3, in those kind of narrow, kind of confined spaces, which obviously plays well in sort of subterranean environment that we've got going on here. It can be fired in both shoulders as well, so the lads can remain in cover. So overall, a good weapon system for here and back at the FAS lane.
Yeah, it is a really good weapon system, especially for what they're doing. Like, honestly, with today's environments, even with like, you know, Afghanistan and Iraq, you don't really need the longer barrels so much. It's nice to have the muzzle velocity and, you know, a little bit more range. But honestly, when you're talking about modern combats, like 300 and in, or 300 meters and in, is really what you're going to be working with. And having a short barreled rifle like that is going to be pretty well suited for those sort of environments. And it's also much nicer to have a short rifle or a short barrel, so you can really get around corners and tight confined spaces like this.
But future commandos, they'll be using this same weapon system.
It's a nice gun.
The purpose of all of this is to offer the UK Armed Forces and NATO a unique capability, self-sufficient, mobile teams with modern equipment, not constrained by the logistical requirements of normal infantry.
Oh, what was that? Was that a phone booth? Do y'all still have phone booths in the UK? It looks like this one takes like coin and like some sort of, is that, I don't know if that's a card. That looks like a pretty old phone booth. Honestly, I haven't seen a phone booth since I was like, I don't know, maybe 10 in like New York City or something like that. Yeah, honestly, that's pretty cool to see. Sorry, I'm just getting distracted. It's just cool seeing phone booths again.
Not constrained by the logistical requirements of normal infantry.
I love the historic shots. Really, really
going
cool.
back to our roots, equipped with the technology of kind of today and tomorrow. So going back to what we did historically in sort of the Second World War, small groups of sort of determined men working at sort of decent reach, going in, sort of sneaking in behind, and then getting out.
Oh yeah.
The lads have to be like a little bit more sort of self-sustaining and self-sufficient. They need to be able to look after themselves without that kind of bubble around them of support. They need to be thinking on their feet, they need to be fast, and they need to have that initiative and that cunning and dare to seize opportunities when they present itself.
Oh yeah, for sure.
Instead of deploying as a battalion, with all the support that requires, commandos will deploy in teams less than 100 strong. They'll be ready for deployment at a moment's notice, whether for warfighting, commando raids, or providing humanitarian assistance.
Yeah, 100 people, I mean, it sounds like a lot to people who aren't in the military, but when you think of like what actually takes to run a deployment or run like forces abroad, it takes a lot of people, and 100 people is really not that much, but it makes a lot of sense. I know like just being CQB and being reconnaissance, you sort of get to certain units where you have that autonomy and just like the independence of being able to work with very minimal supports and just being able to rely on headquarters for like resupplies and whatnot. So it makes sense. You can definitely do it, but it is going to take a lot of restructuring, especially since the Royal Marines were used as that traditional infantry in, you know, Iraq and Afghanistan.
4-3 Commando, the next objective is a village surrounded by cliffs.
Oh, that's so cool. Oh,
Obviously,
snap.
commando training is one of the longest and arguably most arduous infantry training regimes in the world, and we all come out of there with the basic commando skills. Some of the basic elements of being a commando haven't changed since the inception of the commandos. So scaling cliffs, getting to those inaccessible areas that the adversary doesn't think that you're able to reach.
That is freaking awesome.
Working at night, conducting raids, moving in and out quickly, taking the enemy completely by surprise, has always been some of the key tenets of the commando force.
What? That's awesome.
We're looking to build on those roots. Future Commando Force looks to integrate newer technologies, and so you'll see out here we've used things like the sort of RPAS, the Throwbot, some of the shields, some of the specific situational awareness and communication systems that sort of augment our basic skills as a commando and allow us to.
Yeah, so the U.S. military has been really trying to go a lot into like the network systems like that. And we used to have, it's called like a Net Warrior, but it's like a little flip down phone or camera that you could use to like plot points or mark targets, and it's linked through your communications. So like everyone else who has like a radio with this phone device, you can sort of just plot something, send it to them. You can mark your location. You can mark any other points of interest. So it's really cool, and it's really awesome for situational awareness to just flip down this thing and see where everybody is. So really awesome tool, and it's cool to sort of modernize like that. But you definitely need to test it to see how you would actually implement it and see how much you would actually implement it or what you would use it for in specific operations. Because sometimes you're going to be really hot and heavy, and sometimes it's just hard to actually flip down the screen and see what's going on because you're just focused on the near threats. Because, you know, when things get really close quarters, you're not going to be focused on something like that.
Access areas that aren't traditionally available to other sort of infantry regiments. So Future Commando Force is about honing our skills as a commando and integrating the new technology and the new ways of working to allow us to be more widely utilised across defence.
Spooky.
In the middle of World War II, when these tunnels were in use, the Royal Marines were reorganised as commandos. Now, the commandos are back,
That's
returning
awesome.
to their roots. Small teams, operating at reach in all theatres, carrying out strategic raids and then disappearing back into the night.
Hell yeah. Like we've seen with the recruitment ads. All right, very, very awesome stuff. Okay, yeah, you guys need to go and check out this channel because that was very solid. Just such a cool environment to train in. Like, honestly, I would really love to train in an environment like that. It's really cool just to get like the immersion and the realism with being in a, you know, a town or a city that's actually being used on a day-to-day basis. But it's just, it makes it so much cooler for them, especially since they know the lineage of what those tunnels were used for and whatnots. And it's just, that would just be really awesome. That would be a huge thing to do. Honestly, it's training events like that that really make people want to stay in and really get that pride in what they're doing. And yeah, we don't really see that so much with the US military. At least I haven't done so much of that, but it's cool. The closest thing that I was able to do was like a fleet week sort of thing where all the Marines and sailors went to New York City for Veterans Day. And we were able to just go around and talk to the general population and see what was up. It's just cool to hang out with civilians because they don't get that much, you know, influence or exposure to the military. And this is kind of a cool way to do it as well. It just makes them seem a lot spookier, a lot more badass. But I definitely understand why you guys wanted me to check this video out. It was a really solid one. Again, I know this channel does some pretty cool stuff as far as like being able to go out and follow the Royal Marines and see just get like intermix with what they're doing and how they're actually training. So really cool perspective. I mean, we get to see some cool stuff through like Forces TV, but I don't feel like they integrate as well as these guys do because these guys are really, you know, getting, for lack of better terms, they're really getting in the shit with these guys. So it's cool to see, and it's cool to just see it from that perspective, especially with the awesome night vision. That's really sick. So I need to get some cool shots like that whenever I get my night vision set up. But yeah, I mean, stay tuned for that, but thank you for this video in the meantime. It was cool to check it out, and it's always cool to check out stuff from the Royal Marines, especially how they're modernizing with their commando concept. But thank you guys for watching. Thank you, of course, for recommending it. A lot of y'all sent it to me, and I do appreciate it. It really kept me on top of it, and I was able to bump that up on top of the list because I know you guys really wanted me to check it out, and it was just really solid video. So again, thank you. Hopefully you guys enjoyed it. If you did, hit the thumbs up. Let me know what you guys think in the comment section regardless. Feel free to subscribe. I do appreciate you guys. Thank you again for watching. That is it for this video. I'll see you all in the next one.